Thank you so much. We move to the next panel discussion again. Another very important aspect of cybersecurity as a whole, that is identity and access management. And for that, we have again eminent speakers with us. We have with us Mr. Praveen Bisht. He's the CIO of Amrita Hospitals. I request him to come on stage. Please, a round of applause for him, please. He's the moderator for this session. Mr. Gyanananjan Dash, Head Information Security, HPCL Mittal Energy Limited. I request him to come on stage. And Himanshu Sharma is the GM Head of ICDC Gramax GMR Group to come on stage, please. A round of applause for them. So without taking much time, I hand over the session to Praveen Bisht, CIO Amrita Hospital. The session on reducing cost and increasing security efficiency through identity and access management system. Over to you, Mr. Bisht.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll try to make this short, but equally engaging. I know it's very challenging post the lunch session. Less audience, but we'll try to make sure that you derive value out of the discussion. So when it comes to identity access management, we all know the traditional ways in which we typically get identified, right? One is what you know. You log into a portal, you enter your username, password, but that can be very easily stolen. It could be easily shared. So the next point is what do you have, right? And it could be your mobile phone, your devices, and then lastly, what you are in terms of your biometric, your facial recognition. So those are the ways we have evolved, but similarly, just like we come up with better ways, there are other challenges also. It comes along, especially with digital transformation, where more and more of our data is now in digital format, and it's much more difficult, much more challenging to ensure that we are giving access to the data to the right set of people at the right time with minimal intervention. If you do too much of authentication, the user itself will crib about it and will not like that. So it has to be seamless, but it cannot be left to some vague algorithm, some vague method. So it has to be scientific enough. It has to be accurate enough. So there are a lot of these challenges that we have to balance before we come up with a strategy. And this is where we would like to pose that question to our eminent speaker, and I would also request them to briefly tell the audience about their background in terms of which domain they are from and what challenges it brings, because they have so much wealth of data that resides with them. So with that, Gyana, if you could please summarize.
Thank you. So as you asked about the background, probably I would say I love IAM, so I have a lot of IAM background also. Currently I work as a CISO, but previously mostly I was working as a security architect. So I know what is the pain when you implement the security solutions. Coming to identity, so I think Anu was telling previously that the threat actors, like especially he was mentioning about the state-sponsored threat actors, but it's not only the state-sponsored threat actor. Every threat actor is, they are more smart. They have equipped with a lot of tools to attack us. So we need to be actually more proactive to defend them. So nowadays, if we talk about, if you see a few years back, everybody was talking about the perimeter security, and everybody were only focused about the firewall. Now, if you talk about, then identity is actually the new oil, and identity is actually the new perimeter, because so much of complexity, so much of scale also. And previously, if you see, everybody were coming only to office. Nowadays, anybody can work from anywhere, and a lot of companies, they are actually, if you ask them, they say we don't have an office. We operate from across the globe. So that means we have to secure our identity. At the same time, you are asking about the challenges. The challenges is actually, if we do too much of authentication, it can be overload, and it can also drastically reduce the end user experience. So you need to actually balance that one. So there actually my strategy is based on my experience. Actually, it's definitely a challenge, because this is one area where this evolved very late. If you talk about the cyber security, if you talk, let's say, if you compare about last 20 years or so, then this IAM part actually evolved mostly, if you say 5-6 years or hardly 10 years. So there are a lot of legacy applications, a lot of new applications also, thousands of applications. In my previous organization, there were actually more than 4,000 applications. So being an identity architect, defining a solution, so there are a lot of complexity depending on the regulatory one, and the user experience is the most one. So people are raising requests. If it will take 7 days, then definitely they are actually going to raise it. So they are actually, so our strategy was to take it actually step by step. So first of all, you don't need to actually jump on everything, and you actually strategize one tool which can actually, cater most of your landscape, the major landscapes. Then you go step by step. Like I believe you are saying identity means you are saying what you are and what you have, and so those things actually we need to take. Let's say first of all, what we took is we need to identify one identity store first. One more important thing is everybody is working in a hybrid mode nowadays. So we actually have to see some solution which can cater the on-premises as well as the cloud solutions. So that is another critical thing. Then once we have the directory, then probably we can actually see onboarding one or two applications. Then probably we can go to the next step like the multi-factor authentication, we can do that. So that strategy we have to take step by step, we have to go. Now talking about the how we have done that, even if you talk about India, then probably if you are specifically only an Indian company, then compared to other companies, other countries, we have less regulations if you talk. But we are evolving day by day, and we are actually providing services to the entire world. So we cannot say that we don't have that much of regulation. So there actually we need to follow. If you talk about the MFA, then there are a lot of countries where actually we cannot tell them that we use your own mobile phone. So that is also another strategy. So you need to actually see what are actually your pain area, take step by step, then move on. And it's actually a multi-year journey depending on your scale. It cannot happen overnight.
Okay, wonderful. So very relevant in terms of how you have to strategize, you have to plan it. It is not something that you can jump on a solution day one, but it has to be thought through and have to be implemented also in phases. You can't just do a big bang kind of an approach. So with that, Himanshu, similar question on your side. So you do give us a background of what domain you come from and what kind of data do you have, and of course, when we talk about data, there are different types of data also, right? Some are not so critical, some are very critical. So again, define the strategy of IAM with respect to how you stratify the data, how do you classify the users, and then accordingly you must have implemented the solution.
Sure. Thank you, Praveenji. Good afternoon, everyone. Name is Himanshu Sharma. I head the technology vertical for Gramax, which is an enterprise unit within GMR ecosystem. So GMR, as you know, it's a multi-diversified business conglomerate, majorly known for Delhi International Airport, Hyderabad International Airport, and a couple of other large assets. Alongside, we also manage some of the large establishments in power generation, power distribution, smart city infrastructure. So multifaceted assets per se, and some of the critical infrastructure. Coming from that perspective, before this, I was with Dalmia Group. I was the group CISO, so have an experience of the critical infrastructure from the OT standpoint. Had my share of working with Big Fours, I'm ex-EY as well, so both sides of the table, the consulting side and the user side. So as a practitioner. So Yana, you rolled out your strategist or your practitioner's perspective of phased wise implementation approach. I will stick to that. I think we can't boil the ocean, as simple as that. So you need to have that perspective, that user acceptability in terms of the user based role. Praveenji, you called out the three important aspects of human identities. What you know, what you have, and what you are, right? But then beyond that, I want to bring a perspective of non-human identities, which is equally important. There is not much of talk happening about it. When we talk about the identities, we simply correlate it with humans, right? Or human identities. But what about the machines? What about the service accounts? What about the automated scripts which are hard-coded, maybe in the applications, maybe in the infrastructure, maybe in the legacy systems? What about that? So that perspective is equally important, especially coming from your industry as well, Praveenji. There's a lot of automated decision which is happening. There are roles defined for those identities as well. So my perspective would be you have to have a complete visibility on all these identities. irrespective whether they are human identities or non-human identities. Now, with that visibility, you have to have a phase-wise approach. VIP users could be one of them, because most of the frauds, you asked about data is one side, but then revenue leakages. A lot of these fraudulent activities happening with identity impersonations, VIP users, then your administrators, right? Who are the people who can make changes? Who are the people who can make drastic changes in your applications, your middlewares, your server, your infrastructure, your cloud, anything and everything, right? Those administrators. And then the core people who are managing those key business applications. So I think that prioritization in terms of human identities and the machine-based identities is something that you need to lay down. And as per the business context, a business context in an airport would be different when you go to an oil and gas kind of environment versus a hospital and a healthcare kind of environment. So that business contextualization is equally important. So I would say, like an architect, you roll out a phase-wise approach, and then you start identifying, okay, what kind of controls do I need to implement on what kind of identities. So
Okay.
let's start with.
Great, great. Thank you, Himanshu, for laying that out for us. So I guess, like you rightly said, it's not just the human alone. Now we have so many devices, and I come from a healthcare, background, and I'm with Amrita Hospital. So now we have devices, not just mobile devices, but also you have IoT pretty much built into all medical devices as well. So you can imagine the exposure we have if at all something goes wrong. So we have to be extremely careful and have to have some kind of strategy to take into account all these other factors, which were not so, few, maybe 5 years, 10 years ago, that was not, or at least it was starting to come up, but not that much prevalent. Now, those are becoming more of a nuisance, and along with the human side of things, we have to look at mobile devices. We have to look at people not within the walls of their entity. It could be traveling, it could be from their homes, or it could be on the field. So now that would be my follow-up question. So how do you have that shift of strategy? Because now with that, I also understand some of the solutions that are available in the market are also costly. They're not cheap solutions to implement. So how do you bring that strategy where you involve the management? Somehow you have to convince them, you have to explain the ROI, because they are the ones finally approving the budget for some of those solutions. So if you could put some highlight on that.
Sir, so as I said earlier, I mean, we have to take the strategy step by step. And my first strategy would be to protect actually the in-house, resources first. Like, because if you tell about the ROI, definitely for everything there is a cost associated. And you have to, as I say, so you have to justify the cost, then only you will get the budget, then you will roll it out. So the first target is your privilege accounts, or let's say internal employees. So you need to target them. Then step by step, what we do, we can actually make a business case for the non-human identities, which Himanshu said that is very critical. And that is actually, it's not visible, but the impact is very high. Another one I also did, I want to add, another identity is the customer identity. So it was very prevalent for last 2 to 3 years, because we are providing a lot of services, and I also come from a healthcare background, so I see, so in healthcare actually there are a lot of things interconnected. And I still remember we used to have one tagline that in healthcare we save lives. So your infrastructure is connected to customers, to hospitals, and to research labs also. So protecting the customer identity. And just to tell, I think I was reading one newspaper or one news in Europe or somewhere. Last month, one patient died because somebody hacked their hospital, and the blood test report could not reach on time. So,
and in fact, there are cases about remote hacking of the pacemakers, because ultimately there are devices which can be accessed remotely. Right? Those are real cases.
So those things we need to put, more focus, because in smaller organizations, what I see is when you say about customer identity, there is not that much of focus. So I would say strategically first we need to focus on the internal resources or employees, then probably step by step we can go. Then definitely the leadership will definitely understand. And at the same time, if we compare about the manual things, so another question comes in is why to invest on a tool? If you have a small scale, why to invest on a tool? So if you'll actually take the step by step, let's say somebody is joining to the company and how many actually helpless tickets are coming in, how much time they takes to provide all the access and how that is maintained. And let's say somebody is leaving, then also we don't have any clue if that has been revoked or not. So if we calculate that, then definitely we can actually have that ROI and we can make a good business case. This is what we used to do and I'm also still doing.
Great, great. So that reminds me of a funny incident, or rather, it's probably a joke, not an incident. That in healthcare, the patient data is supposed to be, sacrosanct. We don't want anybody to access that, and especially in the Western world, we have this HIPAA rule wherein it's so secure. They say if a patient comes to the emergency, the patient's data is very secure, even more than the patient's life itself. So doctor cannot access the patient data because it's so secure. We might let the patient die, that's fine, but data should be protected. So on a lighter side, so that being saying, Himanshu, now how do you see, if you were to implement, say, a new solution comes on board and you want to get an approval, how do you see the stakeholders being kind of updated on it? They have to be educated, and then they have to be convinced for your management to give you the required budget. So how did the whole ROI part, if you can lay out, how would you even measure if suppose they say, okay, Himanshu, we are ready to fund this, but how do you ensure the ROI is there? What would be the matrices that you would possibly use for measurement?
Praveenji, first of all, you said lighter part. This was a scary part. So
it was a joke, not a real incident. So
hope so, sir. So essentially, what you asked about the ROI and everything, I think everybody, all the participants in the conference, I think that's a daily problem, or in fact, that's the core problem to convince the management about the requirements. Because essentially, when it comes to somebody like us, you want to have best of the breeds, right? You want to have best of the technologies and tools and everything. See, I'll hold that perspective which you said, Jenna, why tools are important, and I'll hold that thought. But then before coming to that, I would say there's no one size fit all kind of approach. Like I said in my previous perspective, business contextualization is very important. And my personal belief would be you start showing the possibilities of something going wrong. How would you know that? Again, start investing in doing exercises, doing crisis simulations in your ecosystem. If it's a business application, start doing certain simulation activities. If it is a critical infrastructure, if it is a, say, production plant or some kind of equipment, start doing those crisis simulation. And for that, utilization of some digital or physical twins, which we already have in our ecosystem, would be a starter. The second perspective would be start pointing out the possibilities of risks and start putting them in business context, that what if this may go wrong. Good part is the management, the board have started listening in last 5 to 7 years. They've started listening and acknowledging that yes, cybersecurity is a very critical aspect of business. Something going wrong because of a cyber attack. Earlier it was like, okay, what may go wrong? I've never heard about a cement plant going down. I've never heard about hospitals getting out. I've never heard about any oil and gas refinery getting out because of a cyber attack. But then 3 months back, there was a fire at Heathrow Airport, and it is still getting deliberated upon why that fire originated. Could there be a possibility of remotely triggering a possibility of fire, which actually led to the whole Heathrow Airport operation getting impacted for more than 8 to 10 hours. So all those perspectives, the business contextualization has to be put down into certain reports, formats. Again, not one size fit all kind of approach. It has to be told to the management. And in a layman's perspective, यहाँ पे technology नहीं चलेगा sir. यहाँ पे you have to talk the business language. यहाँ पे you have to start talking about numbers, because of course management,
the impact, right?
Like numbers, right? Financial impacts, the whole the operations risk methodology, right?
Correct.
The perspective which Jana was mentioning about tools, very important. The data, the kind of quantum which the attacks have started, it is humanly impossible to be able to defend in a right manner. So you need to have tools and technologies because, again, the perspective of AI, you need to have technology enabling the protectors to take the right decision. Because ultimately, like he said, IT tickets, how many tickets? As an individual, you will not be able to manage more than 72 tickets, again, some number, right? 72, 74 tickets in a day. What if the number goes off? You need technology. But what technology, what tool is basis the kind of your environment, basis the kind of your business. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. Thank you so much. And now I guess just like any other discussion, we cannot finish without having a spice of AI into it, right? So that is my next question then. So now the challenges are also increasing because, who is trying to mimic like a user? It could be, a bot for all we know. So how do you now, ensure that you also have AI access, the intruder also has that. So how do you prevent or how do you come up with a strategy on such kind of technological advancements which can be very, very challenging?
See, definitely we are trying to use the positive side of AI, and specifically if you talk about identity and access management, you can nowadays see a lot of defects happening and all. So directly probably the IAM stack or technology cannot help that. That's a separate strategy we need to take. But if we focus on the identity and access management stack, then I would say AI can definitely help in identifying your insider threats. So what's happening is, let's talk about any kind of bigger organization or complex organization where there are, even if you have a tool, still you need people to actually configure those roles and to configure those certifications on all. You have multi-million people, and let's say I was saying over 4,000 applications and all. So it's very difficult to identify if somebody is requesting and somebody is also approving and they have multiple roles and all. So we can you leverage AI to have role minings and all. So AI ML models we can define, which can also actually have a look and see the user behavior analytics also. Mostly we are talking about UVA in the SOC space as of now, but this is what also can be very useful in the domain of identity and access management. So that is, I think, very helpful.
Definitely, I totally agree that, when it comes to so much data, when it comes to say user behavior, humanly it's just impossible for you to analyze. So you have to have AI involved in that. In fact, we at Amrita, we have started a BTech course, AI in healthcare, knowing the scarcity of resource we're going to have in the AI domain, and more so in the healthcare because we run a big hospital. So Himanshu, you know that Amrita also a university. So any guidance from industry side as to what we should focus on to bridge this so-called perceived gap of AI resources in
I
the
think
future?
people like yourself are the first rightly positioned people, because somebody like yourself who's a practitioner plus who's helping the new wave of experts grooming. I think that's a bridge. So more industry collaboration is something which I would personally say that everybody keeps talking. Okay, there are so many reports in the world, this much of gap in skill shortage, these many number of people are missing. How do we groom them, right? So have more exposure, have more industry oriented programs. Industries, organizations are more than happy to collaborate, but then I think the perspective, each organization and enterprise, which is again bound by certain profit and loss statements and everything, there's always there, right? So how do you rightly get the balance? Everybody needs engineers, right? And rightly fit engineers. So I think from the course curriculum perspective, starting from what should be taught in the curriculum, get a input from the respective industry. So I think from the Amrita standpoint, when you're focusing on the AI in the healthcare, I think perspective which you yourself would bring would be more than that's like a welcome step. More than happy to collaborate, sir. Do let us know.
Okay, wonderful. And similarly, the same offer is extended to all the audience here. Anyway, we can exchange, have a mind share, collaborate in whatever fashion. It's only going to help all of us, and that's how we can build a great nation. So with that, we will call close of the session unless somebody has a quick question that we can, please.
Myself, Professor Dr. Himanshu Gupta from MIT Institute. So we know that right now we are living in a digital era where technology is changing day by day as the need of user changing day by day. So in such scenario, I want to know that what is the biggest challenge for identity and access management to handle all these types of advanced persistent threats. Biggest challenge for identity and access management.
You both want to take a quick crack at?
Okay, there are multiple challenges, to be honest, right? Knowing your threat surface, you mentioned about the advanced persistent threats, right? Knowing your own threat surface is one of the biggest challenges. Now, we have a lot of CIOs. We have Praveenji himself, and we have many practitioners. Shadow IT is something which has been there, right? So, as a CISO, as a security portfolio bearer of the organization, you are supposed to be knowing, okay, what kind of technology is running in my organization. But then with the advent of cloud, you just need a credit card, you have a new system spinning up and you have new applications spinning up with the advent of AI-based application generation and everything. What if that application is actually running in your, it's talking to your live systems? You don't know, right? And what kind of role? So I think in my perspective, in my view, knowing your threat surface and knowing your entire ecosystem, technology ecosystem is one of the biggest challenges. And I presume that it is going to be it is going to continue to be one of the bigger challenges per se, unless you want to add something.
No, I think that's the biggest challenge. And secondly, I'll just add another point, not to the threat, but to the response also. So there are a lot of, response already available, but people are not aware. Recently, I will give you one example where actually we are discussing with our CFO. So as he rightly said, they are stealing your identity and they are actually mostly they are doing your financial transactions. But people don't know. We are actually discussing about cyber insurance. Then our CFO asked, is there any kind of cyber insurance available for the frauds happening to individuals? So initially actually they are stealing your identity and they are doing some transaction, but people are not aware that there are some solutions also available. We take life insurance, but we don't take digital wellness insurance also. So awareness is also very important. So this is one kind of, so threat, definitely that's a challenge, but what to do in case that happens, that is also another challenge. So these two, if it bridge, then I think that will be a very good step for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
And definitely, this is a moving target, right? The threat will always be there. The type of threats will change, and we have to be looking out for them, trying to manage. Sometimes we are reactive, sometimes we have to be proactive in whatever fashion we can. So I think that's a learning, and that is why we have conferences like this where we bring experts and who can share their mind. And okay, so I think we are out of time, but appreciate having both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Praveen Bisji, he's the CEO of Amrita Hospitals, and Gyanaranjan Das from HPCL Mittal Energy, and Himanshu Sharma from Gramex Group, GMR Group. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a small token of appreciation to be given to all of you. As I have always told that we consider you as a digital transformation leader in your organization, so we want to felicitate you with Cyber Security Excellence Award. We start with Praveen Bish, CIO Amrita Hospital, but for that, I would like to invite a special guest who can hand over the memento to our eminent speaker. Let me invite Mr. Jitendra Sharma, Regional Head North and East, iValue Info Solutions Limited, to come on stage, please. A round of applause for him, please. We start with Praveen Bish, CIO Amrita Hospitals. To Gyanaranjan Das, Head Information Security, CISO HPCL Mittal Energy Limited. Round of applause, please. To Himanshu Sharma, GM Head of ICDC, Dramax, GMR Group. Thank you so much. And all of you can have a group photo together.